a father to the fatherless,
and a defender of widows.
His garden His holy dwelling.
God sets the lonely in families.
He leads out the prisoners with singing.
Recent studies indicate that there are 30 million orphaned or abandoned children in India. India is a country that is considered to be third world because more than half of the population is below the poverty level. We saw this in visiting the villages. They're very remote, and the individuals living there are known as Dalits, which is the lowest in the caste system of India. Dalits literally means broken and scattered. And so there is a lot of need here in India in terms of reaching out to the orphans and helping to meet a need and fill the gap for these children who have such loss in their life. We know that India is the most populous country in the world, yet here you're not only dealing with poverty, but when a child is orphaned, it's like, how do you overcome such odds that are stacked against you? Our team here at the Sunrise Home look at government studies to determine where the most vulnerable communities are located. This is where they want to bring children from to attend here at the Sunrise Home. Those kids who wouldn't have a chance otherwise. They really would not have opportunity to rise above that without the education that they're receiving here at the Sunrise Home. One of the most meaningful experiences is to visit the villages, the homes where these children grow up. It is very clear that they have a challenge ahead of them if they were left in these circumstances. Parents may go off to try to find some way to survive, some food somewhere. The children are left behind in the village. Perhaps they climb up a tree and get a little bit of food to eat, but they're left unattended. And in these circumstances, there is no way that they're going to be able to flourish. And so when Sunrise is able to offer an opportunity of education for these children, all of a sudden the path that they have ahead of them is very different than what they would have faced back in their home village. One of the villages we visited is very small. It was surrounded by cornfields. The corn is left in the ear until it dries. They then take it to market and sell it for a very minimal price. And I just began to reflect that that probably is the only income they will have to survive on for the entire year. So this is extremely challenging in terms of them managing their resources. In fact, in this particular village, they go down to the creek to draw water, and I saw plenty of algae in that water that they drew out from the creek. They walk up a steep path carrying it on their head. This is how they're getting water for cooking, for drinking. So these children are faced really with very limited nutrition in terms of health, perhaps polluted drinking water, and so their medical needs will go unattended. I imagine that life expectancy in these communities is very low. Even if these children are able to get outside of their village somehow, they're still classified in a certain way as a Dalit, as the lowest caste. And in this case, opportunities for them are still very limited. But at Sunrise, the thinking is not that way at all. Sunrise does not think in caste systems. It thinks in terms of children who God created and who He loves, who should have an opportunity. Every child should have the same opportunity as the next one. One of the young adults that we met here, she's studying nursing. She describes Sunrise as a taste of heaven. That is really what this experience is like for these children who've come from such difficult circumstances. I reflect on our own journey to get there in the car. We were getting car sick. We had to turn around from going to one village because the road had washed out. These are very remote locations that don't have services available to them. So when they come here and have nutritious food, a safe, clean place to stay, adults that are looking after their best interest and loving them, teachers who are giving them an education, these things are not part of any kind of an experience that could be anticipated for a child growing up as a Dalit, as the lowest of all caste in these very remote villages. The psalmist says that God is a father to the fatherless and that he places the solitary in families. He wants every child to have a family, a community that they can identify with, that they can go back to, that can be an anchor, a home for them. These children call Raj and Lalitha Varma Mummy and Daddy. They found that connection with two adults who have loved them, who have supported them, and when they hit a tough time in their life, they have a place to come back to, an anchor, a place of security, a place where they can find that love again to help them enter back into the world and begin making a difference, following the path that God has called them to. Because Child Impact has been involved in sponsorship for 57 years, we have the opportunity to see the benefit of sponsorship. And right here at Sunrise, recent graduates have returned here to greet us. One of them is cooking our food for us, and he works at a hotel. Another one is pursuing her degree to become a nurse for the military. It's amazing to see the paths that they've chosen for their lives. One of them, he was found 4 years old, begging beside the road. No idea who his parents are, and yet here he is today as a successful graduate of Sunrise. What a difference this school is making for these children. When we arrived here at the Sunrise home, I was excited to see Jayacinth again. He is the first child my wife and I sponsored through Child Impact. As I greeted him, as my wife and I were there together with him, one of his teenage friends made a comment to me, "He talks about you guys every day." Wow, that really struck me to realize how significant our relationship as a sponsor is to this amazing young man. I let him know that we have his picture in my office to remind us of him as well. So this is a very special boy. We look forward to going to his village to meet his mom again. He is orphaned. He's a single orphan. His father passed away. His mom is a sustenance farmer. She doesn't make enough to give him the opportunities that he is getting here at Sunrise Home. He wants to be a computer engineer. He's a very bright boy, and I believe he will be successful in that dream he has for his life. Our family sponsors 3 children, and we have seen firsthand where they've come from compared to the opportunities that they now have. We know firsthand that sponsorship is changing the lives of these kids, and it makes us want to do more. I want to encourage you as you think about sponsorship. Please understand that you are changing the life of a child. What better gift can someone give? This child has their whole future ahead of them, and you are making that difference early in their life in giving them an opportunity. When my wife and I were dating, she told me she wanted to have 10 kids. I was taken back, but I didn't believe she was possibly serious about this. She didn't mean 10 biological children. She had a heart for adoption, and that desire grew inside of me. And so when we found out about 2 boys from Latvia that were looking for hosts to come and visit for Christmas and for summers, we immediately signed up. And that is how Andres and his brother Daniel became part of our lives. One thing we learned very quickly is that Daniel was looking out for his younger brother Andres. In fact, he was the big brother protector. Nobody dared mess with Andres because Daniel had his back. Like many of the children here at Sunrise Home, Andres and Daniel came from a very difficult circumstance. They were abandoned, left alone at a very young age, trying to fend for themselves. And yet, we had the opportunity, because of God's calling on our lives, to make a difference for these boys, to bring them into our family, to become part of our home, to become Evan's children. And I have felt from the day that they arrived at our home that our home is better because of them. When our son Andres passed away on April 13 of 2023 after a long battle with leukemia, there are many individuals that wanted to have some kind of a memory of Andres that would carry on and wanted to financially make that possible. So we decided at that point to set up a fund at Child Impact in Andres' honor. As funds came in, we began to wonder where best we could honor Andres among all of the projects supported by Child Impact. As my wife and I considered all of the projects around the world that Child Impact is involved in, it became very clear to us that we wanted Andres to be honored at an orphanage because he grew up in an orphanage. And we know the difference that having a family can make in the life of a child. And so we are so honored that right here on this campus, there's a building that has been erected in Andres' honor. Andres, all he could dream about, all he wanted was to be part of a family. And we found that to be true here for the children at Sunrise Home. Because of the love of Raj and Lalitha Varma, these children now have a family as well. And they have lots of siblings. So we are so happy to see these children find a community, find a family like we were able to provide for Andres. I think for orphans, what they really need is a chance. What they really need is an opportunity. And what we saw with Andres is a heart overflowing with love. He's the most forgiving boy that I've ever met, the most loving. He always welcomed you with a hug. It didn't matter what happened, if he had a bad day, if he was hurting, if he was in pain. He wanted to know if you were okay. And I think because of that love that we experienced with him, it made our family stronger. We miss him every single day. He's always part of our heart, always part of our lives. He wanted to grow up and adopt someday because he'd been adopted, because somebody came for him. And so he doesn't know, but he'll have 2 sisters that he'll get to meet in heaven, because we've continued with this passion in life to make a difference for orphans. And I know some of you may want to adopt, and praise God if that's something that he is calling you to. But I believe most individuals could sponsor a child and could give an orphan hope, could bring a smile to the face of an orphan, and could help complete their broken heart. As a Seventh-day Adventist pastor and church member, I wish that we did more to make a difference for orphans. It is really what God is calling us to do. I wish there were more families who would open up their homes and say, I will adopt a child in need. But I know it's expensive. I know it's a challenge, but there are resources that are available. But if that's not your calling, I believe that every individual can open their heart to an orphan or to a vulnerable child through sponsorship. In doing so, you will help bring wholeness to their life. You will give them the opportunity to feel like they have someone who's got their back, that they're not alone in this dark and broken world that we're a part of. Greetings, friends. The Sunrise Home is an oasis of joy and laughter. This is in stark contrast to the challenging circumstances these children found themselves in. I want to thank you for your generosity. You can donate to the Blind, Deaf, and Orphan Fund by going to childimpact.org. Simply select Blind, Deaf, and Orphan, or you can call our office at 423-910-0667. Thank you for making a world of difference for these special children.